if you're looking to get your students into Socrative from Nearpod in order to take an assessment, or if you're running a live lesson to also run a space race, all you're going to do is you're going to go into Socrative first, and you're going to make sure that you launch a quiz. I'm going to launch a quiz, or like I said before, I can also do a space race. Now, it's going to ask me right now if I want to cancel my previous activity because I have an activity running. So just make sure that you do want to cancel that previous activity before you start a new one. I'm going to click on my quiz because that's the activity that I want to run. And I'm going to choose the quiz that I want to run with them. At this point, I'm going to choose how I want them to take it. Do I want it to be instant feedback, which is probably going to be what I want if I'm using a student paced, because I'm going to want them to get that feedback. So hopefully they can learn from the assessment in order to help themselves out. I can also choose open navigation if I want them to go through and I want them to figure out how to do the questions, but if I want them to be able to go back to change answers. The instant feedback is not going to allow that, because with the instant feedback, they're going to get the answers right after they do the assessment. The third one is teacher paced, which is going to allow me to do a live lesson and actually move my questions as they go. So for this one, I'm going to choose instant feedback, and I'm going to require names. I do want my questions to appear in a specific order, so I'm not going to shuffle my questions, nor am I going to shuffle my answers. I definitely want them to get that question feedback, and I also want them to get the final score so they know how they did. And I'm going to click Start. Now, once I click Start, my activity has begun. As students get in, my students will show up right here, and I'll be able to see whether their answers were correct or incorrect as they go. Using this method and using the free version of Socrative, they are going to be able to take it more than once, which is absolutely fine because we're using this to focus on the learning, not using it to focus on assessing and grading. So the biggest issue that I'm going to have right now is how to get them into Nearpod. So to help out with that, I created a Google Slides presentation, which will help you to create a slide that you can use to get them in. This slide is going to tell them to go to the next slide and put in the following code, which is WOD 106. And it's also going to tell them, when you see this, you are done. Because once they complete the activity, it's going to give them this symbol, and it's going to say your teacher is going to give you another activity. It's going to say waiting for teacher. The fact is, we're not doing this as multiple activities where we're going to put it in. So that's why I always put this photo in. So you can scroll down to any of the following slides and use them. The only thing to be aware, because there's 10 slides that you're able to copy and paste for yourself, make sure that nobody else is in the slide. So if I hover over it and that little person or the icon pops up, that means someone's currently using that slide. Also, when you're done, please remember to delete your code so that your code's not available on the internet. So I'm going to go into a new slide. I'm going to put in the code that I'd like. And now I want to take my slide and save it so that I can put it in Nearpod. So I'm going to go to File, and remember this is slide number 6. Going to File, and I want to click to print my slide. Once I do that, make sure you set your destination as Save as PDF. You don't want to have all of these slides. So rather than print all these slides, take the pages and choose a custom format. Now, this is why it was important for me to remember my slide number. I want to put in slide number 6. I'm saving it as a PDF. I'm saving just page number 6, and I'm going to click Save. Now, I like to always save it to my desktop. You can save it wherever you want. The reason I like to save it to my desktop is then I'm going to remember to delete it. So now that I've saved it to my desktop, right down here, I'm going to go into my Nearpod. I'm going to drag my slide into here, and I want that to be an individual slide. I now have my title slide. I have my slide explaining my directions to my students. And now the only thing I have to do is send them to my student login, which is bsocrative.com. I'm going to just copy that. And in Nearpod, I'm going to add a slide, which is web content, and paste that in there. Now, when I preview it, my students are going to go through. They're going to see my title slide, my directions slide, and then they're just going to put the room number in there. Which will bring them to my Socrative assessment, and they'll go in and answer the questions. Once they put them all in, I'll now have access to all of their data.